Adobe Radio. The future of alternative.
We all know that it's called the bionic, the bomb, the puff, the blow, the black, the herb, the sensi, the chronic, the sweet Mary Jane, ganja, spliff, reefer, the bad, the Buddha, the homegrown, the ill, the Maui Maui, the method, pop, lethal, turbo, Thai, shake, skunk, stress, wacky, weed, blaze, the boot, dime bag, Scooby-Doo, Bob, bogey, backyard boogie.
Yeah! It's the Cool Nerd Weed Show! That's Yes.
And that's Sasha.
And we are live on Adobe Radio. Once again, we are live here to you on a Monday, just as we were so many Mondays before. And before that, this is our favorite place to be. We don't like to miss any time with you. We love talking about stuff about weed and other stuff about weed because we love weed so much. And that is what it's all about. And we have to remember what it's all about because sometimes things get a little muddy lately. And I kept thinking that because I went to the My Chemical Romance show here in New Jersey this past weekend. And I kept thinking, you know, that stupid TikTok trend where it's, this is what it's all about. Weed and music is kind of the most reliable thing right now. And weed, you just got to wade through all the silliness to get through the community. We are still here and we still exist. And old school weed people from Cali still exist. And the climate maybe interesting around us, but we're gonna prevail, I think. Find us everywhere. YouTube, we are still up there doing our thing, going strong. You could just search Cool Nerd Weed Show.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of all about the passion for what we're doing, which is importante, and the intention. It's, of course, you could make a lot of money dealing drugs. And of course you can make a lot of money in the cannabis industry, or you could at some point. And I think that like the federalness of it all, which we'll quickly talk about, today's going to be the war on drugs. We're going to talk about that a little because we kind of touched on it a couple weeks ago and we were like, we want to talk about this more. We sometimes do talk about it, but we've been doing the show for so long that everything kind of morphs and changes, and we like to do little refreshers. And it's important to know, especially at this stage in the game when so many rights are being fucked with, where everything comes from. You know, the intentions of it all. That's what the show is about. The intentions.
Intention.
Yeah.
And
set your intention.
History of where our government's intentions have always lied regarding the war on drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. And just a spoiler, it's going to make you mad. But sometimes, sometimes it's good to remember these things. And I think a lot of this stuff is kind of known, but not known enough. I don't think we talk about this stuff enough. But before we get into that fun stuff, oh, God, I hate talking about Donald Trump so much.
just remember, anger is a gift. Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, Rage Against the Machine. Oh my God. When I listen to the radio and Rage Against the Machine comes on, I'm like a Gen Xer, I swear to God. I turn it up so loud and I sing so loud. And I guess I'm what the youngs would call it cringe, but it's very loud. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm so mad. Motherfucker, I'm so mad. But I'm also still, I wouldn't say hopeful. I'm curious as to where we're going to go in the world, where weed is going to go. So we thought, today, on this date, on the 11th, today is August 11th, 2025. You are likely listening to this on the following day, or maybe even the next day. or whatever you goddamn please. But it's probably not Monday the 11th right now. And if it is, thank you for listening live. If it's not, then that's cool too. But I always like to note the date when we talk, especially when we talk about Donald Trump, because literally stuff changes by the hour. It's such a pain in the ass. It's
like that. The wind blows and Donald Trump changes his opinions.
And I guess we never really knew what was going to happen with weed today. We knew he was going to talk about some other dumb shit today. He just says stuff, So we still don't have an answer. He did a whole press conference this morning. Most of it was stupid. I don't know. Was he asked about it or did he just bring it up?
I believe
he did ask. He was
press
asked
conference
about it.
that Donald Trump was asked. And
yes.
He says, regarding marijuana rescheduling, the decision will happen over the next few weeks.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. And that's in the Donald Trump shifting timeline for every issue.
Yeah, because he then said that they're only looking at it and it's too early. Oh, well, yeah, like how Biden was going to move. Well, yeah, that was the big thing. We were going to reschedule. And he said it's too early to say. It's too early to say. I don't know. So that basically means he doesn't know. We don't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know what's going to happen. I don't think he knows what's going to happen with anything. I think he thinks he knows, and I think some really bad people around him know, but I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows anything. But we go for it.
Donald Trump, he does say it's a very complicated issue, and then this is a direct quote from Donald Trump, and this will amaze you. This is our fucking president, Donald J. Trump. Quote, some people like it. Some people hate it. People hate the whole concept of marijuana because it does bad for children. And it does bad for people that are older than children. But we're looking at reclassification and we'll make a determination over the next few weeks. And that determination hopefully will be the right one. End quote. So,
sounds
what the fuck does that mean?
It sounds accurate. I mean, it's like all of the silly words that
it's
he
bad
says.
It's bad for children.
Well, it's bad for people older than children. That's people. You're saying it's bad for people.
We're older than children.
I think the bad things, quote unquote, that he says he's heard is obviously stupid propaganda that we'll go into in a minute. But I also would just like to note that he probably most of the bad things are his not being able to make a ton of money off of it just yet. But True Leave fucking goes to the White House and shit. I mean, Kim Rivers, the CEO of True Leave. And if weed does go legal federally, you can probably look for True Leave to be at the forefront of one of the brands to launch. Now, it's interesting because I remember when we were speaking about Canada so many years ago and how their government was, doling out the weed and stuff like that. And I was like, what? And it sounded good in theory, but also in practice, I was like, it sounds crazy to go to a government website and get weed. That is crazy. So, but I don't know, it wound up no, because the traditional market really did flourish in Canada from what we've heard, right? And now it's just like traditional versus.
Yeah, it's the same. There's government sponsored dispensaries in Canada. I think it's sort of sorted itself out a little bit better because you were able to get government cannabis mailed to you, and my weed's showing up moldy, all kinds of weird shit in Canada.
And I don't know what the company structure is in Canada either. The problem is here, and the problem when people are what's wrong with the industry right now, like one of the big problems is big weed, and that's just because, again, intention is important when it comes to just this product, if you want to look at it as a product. But it is a plant. It is looked at as medicine. It is looked at as something recreational. It is looked at as something that can be looked at even more. So I feel like you do have to go into it with kind of an open intention in a lot of ways. And big companies, that's not their thing. They don't
No.
care about anybody. They don't care. They just want the monies. And True Leaf is like that. There are cannabis companies that exist now that are like that. And I can promise you, their weed is shit. So even if you don't care about ethics and morals and stuff, and you want to smoke medicinal and good weed, you're not going to get it from big federal cannabis. I don't know how I feel about any of this. I don't know. I'm happy that jobs are being created in cannabis. If we keep on going the way we're going, I think everybody should work in it and understand it. So that's cool. But I also am like, I don't know. What does it mean?
You know, it's just one more thing to have. As the Republicans want less government control, less government, it's the government's overstepping its bounds, trying to control the entire cannabis industry. It's really, all of these people say they're for less government, but you want the government to control our cannabis.
Well, maybe it's not all that. Maybe it's just, I mean, they got people, because that's where people get into their weird stigma, that weird notion that weed is a gateway drug and weed can kill you, and all the stuff that's happening, all the stuff that you still see now, today, that is just, not true or very exaggerated or a little bit reefer madness, and we don't like that. It makes us think.
Can I read just one more Donald Trump quote from this regarding?
Yes, if you want.
I really do.
Okay.
Don't
do an impression.
I
just read it like you. Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Okay. Should I read it like RFK? No, I were afraid. Should I do an Aussie accent?
No.
Okay. This is just my regular voice reading a quote from Donald Trump.
Straight.
I've heard great things having to do with medical cannabis, and I've heard bad things having to do with just about everything else. But for medical, for pain and various things, I've heard some pretty good things. But for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things.
Well, he must not have listened to our Sex, Cannabis, and Giggles episodes 1 through 6.
He would be on board for the sexual reasons alone.
Yeah. Get his daughter in there. It would be a great time. And I feel like I'm not even the one who's making that leap. I draw that leap from him. He's a mess. He's a goddamn mess. So we know what we're dealing with. We have a long fucking term to go. And if we could be a thing that goes well for us in the next few years, that'd be great. I'm holding my doubts. Maybe it'll be something like it is rescheduled and we get to play around with weed a little more, and that would be great. And it's not just going to be big cannabis takes over and takes our jobs. Everything is AI. Growing weed, everything is 3D printed in AI. They don't need people.
3D printed cannabis?
Well, how can he be for cannabis when he's raiding cannabis farms?
What a fucking mess.
Clown shoes. Well, that's where we are here. I didn't even play the United States of Cannabis. Shit, sorry.
We salute you, the United States of Cannabis, under all 50 strains. One pre-roll, under bomb. It's the Cool Nerd Weed Show.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. It starts out kind of funny because you're like, he's so silly, and she talks so dumb, and then you're like, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
this is actually really shitty.
This is our president right now,
and we'll talk till we can't talk no more about it. And again, if weed is more accessible and less, and you're judging me less for smoking, that is great. There was a time where my mom wouldn't even tell people what I did. when I was a bud tender in LA, and I was like, "What do you mean? Like, I work with cancer patients. I do." But that's just how the world saw weed. So if it could change in that way, well, that'd be great. I wouldn't thank Donald Trump for anything ever. He could do a lot of things, and I'd still be like, I still think you're trash.
So, if somehow Donald J. Trump was to have cannabis reclassified or some way move the needle forward for the cannabis movement, none of the Trumps would ever get your vote in the future.
No. Oh my God. Could you imagine? No. No, this is like a hellscape. And I can't wait till we don't have to feel so embarrassed and scared. But I also, from the jump, when we started doing this podcast, Donald Trump was the president. It's the second time since we've started this podcast. And back then, I said he was going to do it. But back then, there was a lot of outside influence of still Republicans don't want it in, the AG, and so on and so forth. And there's a bunch of that still, but I think we know more in the last 8 years about weed and what it does for the economy and for the people. And people just see monies. And that's what I think he's trying to see. I think that's what he means, is he needs to figure out how he can make money off of it. But so that leaves us with the same place that we were 20 minutes ago. We still have no fucking clue what he's going to do. FRLs, we're going to take a break and talk about the war on drugs and where it started and where it's at now. And it's not like what I would call a fun ride, but it definitely is important history. So this is where the nerds get really, really nerdy. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
It's the Cool Nerd Weed Show with TS and Sasha. Don't panic. It's organic.
And we're back.
We're back.
I could have cleared my throat. Totally muted, but I didn't. I wanted you to share that experience with me. It's the Cool Nerd Weed Show. That is TS.
And that is Sasha.
And we are live on Adobe Radio. We sure are. We sure are live. And it's good to be live. It is. It's great. It's great that we get to do this. Thank you, Adobe, for giving us this sliver of time that we love so much, that we respect so much, in these times of need. You can build yourself a nice little community and space on the internet where it's safe, and you are always safe with the nerds. Don't you never forget it. Don't you never forget it. And so we are going to talk about some stuff. Some real stuff. So we have talked about this before. We have talked about the war on drugs probably way in the early days of the nerds. We did a lot of organized themed shows back then. Now we're the Wild West. We're like, woo, live, baby. But back then we were tight. I mean, I would argue we're actually tighter now because we're live. But that's whatever. We don't need to go into a TED Talk about the nerds. But we did do this a long, long time ago. I don't even know if you can find it or where you can find it. SoundCloud or something. I don't need that. There's that episode somewhere. But it's time to do a refresher.
I have it on cassette. You can find it at a secret location near the Batcave.
Yeah, in LA. So the war on drugs in these United States, as far as we can record it back, is before this. Now, before, let's say, the mid 1800s, were drugs just around?
It was all of these things have been around since ancient times.
Brought over from all the lands.
That came over on the Silk Road, not the website, but the actual road.
Right. That'd be
and So let's just talk about the big 3 or 4 right now that were all considered medicine back in the day. You had your opium, you had your cocaine, you
Right. And this
had
was medicine.
your
This
this
was
was all medicine. It was manufactured from plants in various ways back then, and you had your cannabis. I thought there was a fourth, but
what'd you
those are
say
your
so
big.
far? You said opium,
I've got
cocaine,
opium,
cannabis.
cocaine, and cannabis.
I think.
And yeah, those are the big 3.
Yeah, those are the big 3.
So, all of those things were in your over-the-counter medicines, and sometimes all 3 of them were in your medicines to manage like pain, coughing, a toothache,
Mm-hmm.
rheumatism,
Mm-hmm.
any of your old-timey diseases were managed by the big 3
One of those
in
things.
some way or another.
Here. In most
Traditionally,
places,
around the world.
every time you'd go to another land, whether like it was through war or exploration, you tried their drugs, and that was really standard and wasn't. It was a way to like be in the community, get fucked up.
I guess the fourth one, as far as medicine would be alcohol.
Oh, yeah, but that was only prohibition for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They
So
couldn't do it. But yes, alcohol was used as medicine. It was. It's still. Well, it still is very, very much so. But it was. I mean, just as like early as like your grandma was like, give her some fucking scotch. She has a headache. Like what?
Yeah. little Jack Daniels fix you right up.
Yeah.
But,
so that's not uncommon. So yeah,
Yeah.
alcohol was.
But this is the war on the big 3.
Right.
So in San Francisco, they proposed the Opium Den Ordinance of 1875, made it a misdemeanor to obtain or visit places where people smoked opium. And these places were mainly used, or they not used, they were just mainly in Chinese immigrant neighborhoods. So that was considered one of the first racially inflammatory state laws that had emerged during that time.
Right. So during this time, we historically were racist and were racist towards the Chinese in many ways.
Just local racisms.
Racism has now just spread fear across communities. So these like communities now are starting to ostracize and criminalize places like opium. And this quickly just spreads. This was kind of, I guess, was this like the first big one? The Opium Exclusion Act? I guess so.
Yeah, this was
Right?
the first one.
But this is before, what's his name? Henry Anslinger, right?
Oh yeah, this was just before to demonize the Chinese people in San Francisco. They passed this ordinance, and it spread about 20 years later, became a federal law. 1909, the Smoking Opium Exclusion Act prohibited importing and using opium. So that was like the first in the U.S. Started the war on drugs and demonizing drugs.
Yes.
That was the very beginning.
And that is the late 19th century. So like 1870 to the 20s, when things were like pretty crazy around that time. They were really getting ready to stifle a lot of things, and they were really getting ready to ramp the racism way up. And cocaine, I guess, was next on the list, and that targeted Southern Black people first, and then just subsequently people of color for all of time. The Harrison Act outlawed opiates and cocaine. And it was, of course, all the awful, disgusting, racist shit that you hear coming from any law that comes from targeting Black people in the South. And it's gross. So, like, obviously, that one is and has always been very, very rooted in racism and not about anybody's safety. It's not about safety, and that's what they say. It's not about caring for people, and that's what they say. Like, you don't like to demonize these people in such a way. Like, I don't even want to read the headline that they have on this website. By the way, you can find all this shit on drugpolicy.org. It's fun, but it's gross. It's gross.
It is.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting, and I don't want to read it either. But it was a headline in the New York fucking Times in 1914. It basically drops the N-word and then says, "Cocaine fiends are a new Southern menace."
Yeah.
So that's how you drop fucking demonization of Black people.
And again, that's just good old fashioned racism, my friends. There is nothing other about it. Yeah, it could be, capitalistic and money, and you're targeting neighborhoods that are just blossoming and blooming and so on. But it is just good old fashioned hatred and racism and bigotry that this country was like pretty much always about. And I like to remind people about this when, I don't know, when we're trying to, like, I don't know, quote unquote, find the hope. And the war on drugs is a very, very good example of that.
Well, in a time where people are trying to erase history, it's important to keep talking about America's past, and to not whitewash it over and try to cover it up, or like pull it out of this fucking Smithsonian or whatever the fuck's going on now. So, it's important to, if you don't know your past, you won't know your future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And it's definitely very much like a mirror. It is repeating itself in all of the ways. This next one will sound very familiar to you. So we're at weed now. Now we get to weed, because I guess we went through the substances that they found they could target, and they found that they could, there was a very big influx of Mexican immigrants, and that is for a bunch of reasons that are shitty, that we were on the shitty side of back then. California. But because of these things, we got the sweet leaf into our lives, and boy, was it great. It did so many things. It was strong, it was fun to grow, and it got you fucking high. And that was something that everybody started to get a load of. And then your boy, Harry Anslinger, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics becomes a thing. And this is where Reefer Madness really begins. And this is around 1939. Yeah, 39. 39.
He was Harry Anslinger is probably the first person to ever claim that marijuana caused psychosis and violence. There was no studies back then.
No. I don't know what he thought he saw, but he hated drugs his whole life. He was a big, I gotta buzz people who do drugs thing, and he knew no other way.
Even back then, only one of 30 scientists actually agreed with Harry Anslinger's view. So, they knew back then. These other 29 scientists were like, no, it's not. And it's in most of our medicines of the day.
Yeah, people begged him to listen. They were like, bro, Like, what are you talking about? This is like mad bustling economy. And he was like, no, all these stories. And he did what is happening today. And he was just rounding people up. And he was like, no, this guy, it was very similar to what we're seeing today with the same group of people. And yeah, no, he really pushed forward. He if you want anybody to blame, I suppose, I guess you could just blame us for the most part, but he's a big one. He really put his back into it. And he went after it, every group, every single group. He went, he started with Mexican immigrants. He, of course, immediately went towards Black people. That is still so much happening, so much, and that is what weed has been used for an excuse, because weed was pretty great for the first turn of the century, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, this is a crime, and people had reasons to get arrested, and then people had reasons to be in the system, and then people lived in communities where people arrest. Like, it's just how everything is created, and weed's just used as the excuse to pick them off. So that fucking sucked. God damn you. I hate you, Harry. You suck. Big butts.
Huge.
I hope you're sucking butts in heck. And that's about him. That's all I want to talk about him, because he's whack. But if you do want to do more digging, you can look him up and be angry about it. Do a paper about it in college. You should do a paper about it in college. It's important stuff to talk about. But after that, it doesn't get much better. I mean, we're getting, we have many, many years of the war on drugs, many, many years, including actual wars. There were some pretty big ones that happened throughout that century that just perpetuated everything. And we get ourselves to the 70s.
Yeah, 1970, Tricky Dicky Nixon signed the Controlled Substance Act, and somehow it came into law. And this is where the drug classification system comes into play. There's the 5 schedules rated by medicinal benefits and level of potential for abuse. So basically, these classifications ended up relying on fear and stigma rather than actual fucking science. And the result was like arbitrary, which is still in play today in 2025, August 11th.
Yeah. It's so bad. And everything else, like, how did they figure that, like, codeine was better than, like, what are you doing? Who says? Like, who are you to say what's what when it comes to what helps who?
It was 1970, and they didn't ask any scientists, and this was probably put together by one of Richard Nixon's committees, and then it was just passed through somehow, because of fear and stigma.
Yeah, and I think the government's like crazy corrupt. I think they could do what they want sometimes. And I think Nixon is a pretty good example of that. I think we had literal proof that was happening. Another thing you could look up, but I'm not breaking any ground when I say they are not trustable sources when it comes to drug related things, because it's skewed in by way of like easy racism, easy targeting, and it makes you look like you are fighting crime or something fucking stupid. So it is racism, like plain and simple. So he goes full on. He's like, let's do this shit. I mean, he's using hard R's. He's fucking declaring the war on drugs. It's fucking declared. And he creates the Drug Enforcement Administration. This like fucking government sounds like South Park wrote it. So the DEA, fucking bunch of nerds, they come into play in the 70s. And it's after all this time. Don't forget too, we're going through a lot as a society. You got your fucking post Summer of Loves, you got your early Vietnams, you got your, these people who are in the age that they've been smoking weed for so long, like since they were like 13 and they're in their 20s now. There's just a lot of like culture shit going on in the 70s. And I think there's like the disconnect between the government and the people where they don't care. They just want to be able to control it. So what better way than to make shit crime,
Yeah, they set up mandatory sentencing, no-knock warrants. Like even to this day, all of those things are being challenged. Like mandatory minimums are total bullshit. No-knock warrants are fucking dangerous. We've seen people killed for no-knock warrants. They've gone to the wrong fucking place. And the fucking DEA that's in charge of our medicine is just fucked up by itself. So
yeah. And also Big Pharma. Don't forget Big Pharma. Just don't forget Big Pharma. So all the while, this Big Pharma is being birthed. And this is another way that they can get your monies and your pain and just make money off of it and marginalize you and so on. And weed is a very good way. I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm not saying you can replace your medicine with weed, but a lot of people find relief in weed where they can't find in certain other medicines. But there is a big pharma element to this. And that's not just me being like, fucking chemtrails. Like, it's true. That's just truth. So that's going on all the while. We will not get into that because we do not have time. But that is also happening.
You're not even wearing your tinfoil hat right now, Sasha.
I'm not right now. Or am I? But yeah, so this happens. But we go on in the world, and the collective kind of society is a little bit swinging to Carter. And for a brief moment, like there's a little sliver of hope in, like, when I was born in the 80s, or no, the 70s. I was not born then. You were born then. Sorry. Yeah. You were born then, right?
I was. Okay. I was a wee baby.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I'm like, it's like 1952. I'm like, you were like a teenager, right? No, I was not born. You were born.
I was a wee baby when President Carter was elected, and simple marijuana possession is decriminalized briefly.
Yeah. He was like, yeah, fuck it. And it happened for a hot second. And just like it did, just like right now, the pendulum swung the other way, and the Reagans entered our lives. And this is when, around the time I was born. I was born a little bit later than that, but I was born during Ronald Reagan. So that was cool. And we really do get Just Say No. And this lasts for a long time. I mean, we are products of that. Everybody we talk to who's over a certain age went through those programs. They taught us weed would kill us. They taught us that, like, straight up in our faces.
This was my formative years during the Just Say No campaign, like scaring. They wanted to fucking scare us. We saw all these crazy skits videos and stuff.
Like they wanted us to do like little skits, and they would make us be like, "Oh, so little Johnny is smoking weed, and he passes out in the corner. Do it or something." And then we'd have to perform and stuff. And I remember doing it, being like, "This is like the wackest thing." We were like 7. I'm not even exaggerating.
Yeah, we saw all of these whack ass fucking films, actual fucking film. And they bring out the projector, and we watch these weird films of like somebody on drugs, and they were jumping up and down and saying they were Superman.
Oh
And
yeah, we saw that one too.
that was a good one. And then Nancy Reagan comes out with her "Just Say No" campaign. That was, and the DARE campaign, founded
Yeah,
by
the
Daryl
dare.
Gates.
Yeah. Drug. Wait, what is it? What does dare stand for?
DARE. Uh, what the fuck was it?
Well, there's.
Drug
If only there was a way to look it up.
something, resist and educate.
Dare to wait, no. Drug abuse
DARE.
resistance education.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drug abuse resistance education. So fucking stupid. Like you're so dumb. So, and this was actually like it was weed, but it was a lot of like crack stuff back then. You had your crack baby myth. You had your obviously this is rooted in racism. Targeted black communities and communities of color, and they ramped this up. Like this was no joke. They really did go out for people, and
Yeah.
in like 17 years it jumped exponentially, and we have to move on. We
Oh, okay.
sorry, we're running out of time, and I really want to finish this. But can you say what you want to say in like 20 seconds?
Yes, all of decriminalization efforts were put on the back burner in the 80s, and it became like a promotion to promote crack is the worst thing ever. And the sentences for crack cocaine were exponentially worse than actual powder cocaine, which we all know was inherently racist.
Like no, like full stop, end of sentence. That's the tweet. That's what it was. So we get ourselves to 1994. I guess like we're getting towards some reform. But for a second, it's just like a policy is formed. The 90s are fun, in the early 90s we have some fun times going through it. Things aren't crazy, but so we kind of do a little bit of a dance there. But then we get W in, and he went back at it. I remember that well. Oh my God, remember he did the student drug testing? That was crazy.
Yeah, that was wild. I started in the medical cannabis while George W. Bush was in office, so it was wild times being raided by the fucking DEA and the federal government when we were following California's law regarding medical cannabis.
Yeah, I could just picture his stupid fucking face talking about it, and that's really whack that you had to go through that. And he was super whack, just so you know. Then we have had about enough of W after 2 full terms and a couple of fucking national disasters. We get President Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And Barack Obama,
harm reduction.
Yes, approached it with a different eye. Now, it's getting there slow, but he ended the ban. He ended the ban for syringe access programs, which is great. We love that. State medical marijuana laws. He was like, let's keep our hands out of that too, to leave it to the states. That was also very helpful just in terms of access and stigma. We thought we were doing great. Then, of course, as aforementioned, Donald J. Trump calls for the death penalty in 2018 for people who sell drugs. So we get through Barack Obama. We're feeling fine and frisky. We start getting recreational in certain states. And then Donald comes in and makes it worse, obviously. So we take a bunch of steps back, but we also take a couple steps forward in the 2020s. We start to decriminalize some drugs. We start to look at psychedelics. Weed is legal in so many more places, just like they start popping up everywhere deliciously. And we do start to look at harm reduction better. We do start to have more things that are going to prevent overdoses available. This is looking great. Oh no, the rise of fentanyl. Because like I mentioned, if you'll remember, Big Pharma, started to crawl up. And people wanted pills, and people wanted them pressed, and people wanted something to cut them with. And there's the new thing, and you get this from this drug. And remember how fucking oxycodone was just, heroin after a while? The
Yeah.
pathway is
Yeah.
right there. So you start on your pills, and you get onto street drugs very easily. That was happening very, very easily. Pills were very much available. And the way that was done is really shitty. And we won't talk about that either, because that is its own form of classism and racism. But that is how we have this insane fentanyl problem. Epidemic is what they're calling it. And this is our current day. It's fucking whack. And yeah, it's whack. Trump is in office again. I don't know what's going to happen with the drug front, but we are facing some pretty lame stuff in the fentanyl department. It sucks. But again, we do have overdose things available. We have more harm reduction things than ever, but there still is the stigma. There's still the residue of the past, and the war on drugs is still happening, and it's still targeting neighborhoods of color and Black neighborhoods. And there are people getting taken from the front lawns of their houses by federal employees. So, you take the good with the bad, I guess. And that's where the war on drugs has gotten us. So just know when you are smoking or doing all your stuff that this was not an easy path to get to for some fucking reason. And we are very privileged to be able to have access to what we have access to. And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to in the future. Maybe we will. Maybe that's what he'll do. Maybe he'll pass a bill and say it's banned forever. And then he'll do prohibition against weed. And we'll have to do the Roaring 20s, but with weed. Which is basically happening.
No.
Well, can't get much worse, I guess, right?
I mean, every day it seems like it, but the war, as far as the war on drugs goes, are we winning? Are drugs winning? I think drugs are winning.
I hope so. We're going to take a break. We'll probably have like a minute to do just a quick, good ending. And it does relate to the rest of the show. So we will be right back.
The final Huff and Puff with TS and Sasha.
And we're back.
We're back.
That's TS.
And that's Sasha.
It is the Cool Nerd Weed Show, and we are going to end on, I guess, like a positive note, kind of a cutesy thing. We talked about how weed is called a gateway drug, and it's typically not necessarily a gateway drug. And Marijuana Moment had a cute headline that it's the gateway drug to
growing tomatoes.
Aww.
I believe this, and I fully support this idea as well. When I first started doing my home grows, and I realized that growing cannabis is very similar to growing tomatoes, it did open up the world to learning to actually grow tomatoes and grow other vegetables. I had a little victory garden, a little container garden on my balcony, and I grew heirloom tomatoes right beside my weed.
Yeah, it is very similar, the process. And it also suggests that like people our age and younger are just getting, and I think like honestly kind of I really got into growing my garden during COVID. I just like cultivated that shit. Not weed yet, but just horticultures. And I hadn't actually ever grown weed, but we did grow weed. Yeah, I had a whole balcony full of fresh herbs. And I grew tomatoes here actually randomly on the East Coast, but with that hydroponic, I don't know, it's kind of like a cheat. But Yeah,
it still worked.
It does. But I don't know. I was like, I didn't love
But
the food either. I was like, this
the
isn't hitting.
the,
But I love
the
my
Arrow
fresh garden.
Garden.
Yeah. It was cool. This is not an
Yeah,
endorsement,
that's
clearly. Don't
that
sponsor
was
us.
like, if you need to go into space or a low Earth orbit, the
Right.
Arrow Garden will be able to grow you tomatoes.
Exactly.
But if you want really
yeah.
beautiful tomatoes, grow them on your balcony. Use some nice organic soil.
Yeah, and I was thinking can I grow weed in this thing? It's like hydroponic or whatever, but that would be special circumstances. I bet you could. It's tough to grow weed though, but it's fun. It's fun. If you can grow your own, and I'd like to end with this. If you could grow your own, please do grow it. If your state allows it and it's legal, pretty much only if that. Please do it. It's fun as fuck. You can trial and error. It's going to become your baby. You can make it as little as bigger you want. You will feel so fucking good when you grow weed that you smoke. I really, really mean that. So grow your own, bruv. That is what this is suggesting. That, yeah, it's a gateway crop to growing tomatoes and growing your own OG. So
Overgrow the government and don't panic.
it's organic.
Woo, yeah.
Give it up for Adobe, everybody.